For nearly 50 million years, sperm whales have been exchanging information beneath the ocean's surface through a powerful system of clicks and sound sequences. In the deep sea, where visibility is almost non-existent, sound becomes the primary way to communicate. Because it travels through water nearly 4 times faster than it does through air, these signals can reach whales hundreds of miles away. Scientists have been recording these mysterious sounds since the 1950s, but for decades they believed they already understood what they were hearing. The prevailing theory was simple. Researchers assumed the clicks were little more than identification signals, mating calls, or basic messages used to coordinate hunting and maintain social bonds. The sounds clearly followed patterns, but they were thought to represent only limited communication. That assumption would eventually prove to be incomplete. Everything changed in 2024, when scientists working with Project SETI, the Cetacean Translation Initiative, combined years of whale recordings with advanced artificial intelligence. Instead of finding a basic communication system, the AI uncovered something far more remarkable. The whales were producing highly organized vocal sequences that displayed many of the same structural features found in human language. This discovery suggested that sperm whales are doing far more than simply making noise. Their clicks appear to follow consistent rules, repeat in meaningful ways, and change depending on the situation. In other words, these sounds may represent a genuine language, rather than a collection of instinctive calls. As researchers examined thousands of recordings in greater detail, they noticed an unexpected pattern. Certain click sequences repeatedly appeared whenever whales were close to ships, heavy marine traffic, or other sources of human-generated underwater noise. The whales were not merely reacting to these disturbances. Their vocalizations indicated they might actually be communicating with one another about them, possibly sharing warnings or information about nearby threats. If these interpretations are correct, the implications are extraordinary. The findings suggest that sperm whales possess a level of communication far more sophisticated than scientists had imagined, forcing researchers to reconsider long-held ideas about intelligence, language, and humanity's relationship with other highly intelligent species. To understand why the scientific community has taken Project SETI's research so seriously, it is important to first appreciate the extraordinary biology of sperm whales. These animals are the largest toothed predators on Earth, growing up to 60 feet long and weighing around 45 tons. They are also among the planet's most impressive divers, routinely descending more than 3,000 feet, with some recorded dives exceeding 10,000 feet into the dark depths of the ocean, where they hunt giant squid using echolocation. Sperm whales inhabit every major ocean and live in close-knit family groups led by experienced females. These matriarchal societies can span several generations, with individuals maintaining long-term social relationships throughout their lives. Their intelligence is equally extraordinary. A sperm whale's brain weighs around 17 pounds, making it the largest brain of any known animal, roughly 6 times heavier than a human brain. More importantly, it is not simply larger, it is highly specialized. Scientists have identified von Economo neurons, often called spindle cells, within the sperm whale brain. In humans, these rare neurons are linked to empathy, emotional awareness, decision-making, and complex social behavior. They were once believed to exist only in humans and great apes, but whales possess them as well, and in some species, they may even be more abundant. Rather than being a larger version of the human brain, the sperm whale brain represents a completely different evolutionary path, one shaped by millions of years of life in an underwater world. These animals demonstrate memory, emotional awareness, sophisticated social behavior, and an advanced system of communication. Their remarkable clicks are generated by a specialized structure inside their enormous heads known as the spermaceti organ, an organ that plays a crucial role in producing the powerful sounds that continue to fascinate scientists today. The whale generates clicks by forcing air through a structure called the phonic lips. The clicks are among the loudest sounds produced by any animal, up to 230 decibels, loud enough to theoretically cause physical damage to nearby organisms, though the whales appear to control the intensity depending on context. The clicks serve multiple functions. Echolocation clicks are used for navigation and hunting. The whale emits a click, listens for the echo, and builds a sonic image of its environment, including prey items hundreds of meters away in total darkness. But sperm whales also produce a different kind of click pattern, codas. Codas are short sequences of clicks, typically 3 to 12 clicks, produced in specific rhythmic patterns. They are not used for echolocation. They are used for communication. Each coda has a distinct temporal structure, a specific rhythm, a specific spacing between clicks. Different populations of sperm whales use different coda repertoires. Caribbean sperm whales use different codas than Pacific sperm whales. Within populations, different family groups have signature codas that function like acoustic identifiers. The codas are social, they are cultural, they are learned. Young whales learn the coda repertoire of their family group from their mothers and grandmothers over years of development. The existence of codas has been known since the 1970s. Researchers like Hal Whitehead at Dalhousie University and Roger Payne, the biologist who discovered humpback whale songs, have spent decades documenting whale vocalizations and arguing that whale communication is more sophisticated than mainstream science acknowledged. Whitehead, in particular, has documented what he calls whale culture, the transmission of learned behaviors, including vocalizations, across generations within whale communities. The evidence for whale culture is strong. Different whale populations hunt differently. They travel differently. They socialize differently. They vocalize differently. These differences are not genetic. They are learned. They are transmitted from older whales to younger whales through social interaction. They are, by any reasonable definition, cultural. But culture is not language. The question that has remained unanswered, the question that Project SETI was designed to address, is whether whale vocalizations contain the structural complexity that would qualify them as language in a meaningful sense. Language requires more than sounds. It requires combinatorial structure, the ability to combine basic units into larger units with emergent meaning. Human language combines phonemes into morphemes, into words, into phrases, into sentences. The meaning of a sentence is not simply the sum of its parts. It emerges from the combination. The dog bit the man means something different from the man bit the dog, even though the words are identical. That is syntax. That is grammar. That is what makes language language. The question for whale researchers has been whether codas exhibit anything similar. Do the basic units, the clicks, combine into larger structures with emergent properties? Do the sequences vary in ways that suggest underlying rules? Is there a grammar to whale communication? For decades, the answer appeared to be probably not. Researchers identified approximately 21 distinct coda types in well-studied populations. The codas appeared relatively fixed, used as identification signals, greeting calls, and coordination markers. Complex, but not combinatorially complex. Sophisticated, but not language-like. That assessment is now being revised. Project SETI was founded in 2020 as a collaboration between marine biologists, artificial intelligence researchers, linguists, and computer scientists. The lead researchers include David Gruber, a marine biologist and National Geographic explorer, and Shane Guerreau, who has been studying the sperm whales of Dominica for over 2 decades through the Dominica Sperm Whale Project. The artificial intelligence component involves researchers from MIT's Computer, Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, and other institutions working on machine learning systems designed to detect patterns in large data sets. The approach was simple in concept, revolutionary in execution. Collect thousands of hours of sperm whale recordings, feed them to AI systems trained to detect patterns, see what emerges. The AI had no preconceptions about whale communication. It did not know that researchers had identified 21 coda types. It did not know what codas were supposed to sound like. It simply analyzed the acoustic data and looked for structure. What it found was far more than 21 coda types. The AI analysis identified that sperm whale codas vary not just in their basic rhythm, but in multiple additional dimensions. Tempo, the overall speed of the coda. Rubato, variations in timing that stretch or compress the intervals between clicks. Ornamentation, additional clicks added to the basic pattern. The researchers found that these dimensions are not random noise. They are structured, they vary systematically, they appear to carry information. When the full complexity was accounted for, the number of distinct coda variants the whales produced was not 21. It was approximately 156. The system was combinatorial. The whales were not simply producing a small set of fixed calls. They were combining basic elements, click patterns, tempo variations, and ornamental additions into a much larger space of possible vocalizations. The structure resembled, in its mathematical properties, the structure of a phonetic alphabet. The researchers did not claim to have decoded the meaning of specific codas. They claimed something arguably more significant. They demonstrated that the complexity exists. They demonstrated that sperm whale communication has the structural prerequisites for language, the combinatorial capacity that would allow a finite set of basic elements to generate a potentially unlimited range of meanings. Whether the whales are actually using that capacity for language-like communication remains to be determined. But the capacity is there. The architecture is there. The complexity is real. The comparison to human language is striking. Human speech combines approximately 40 phonemes, basic sound units, into a potentially infinite number of words and sentences. The combinatorial structure is what gives human language its expressive power. Sperm whale communication, according to the Project CD analysis, exhibits an analogous combinatorial structure. Basic elements combine into larger structures following implicit rules. The parallel is not proof that whales have language in the full human sense, but it is evidence that the cognitive architecture underlying whale communication is more sophisticated than we assumed. It is evidence that something is happening in those massive brains, something that produces structured, rule-governed, culturally transmitted communication systems. What we call that something, whether we call it language, proto-language, or something entirely new, is a question that depends as much on our definitions as on the whales. But the complexity is real. The AI confirmed it. And then the researchers started looking at context. They started asking when specific coda variants occurred. They started correlating acoustic patterns with environmental conditions, and they found something disturbing. Certain patterns appeared more frequently in specific contexts. Those contexts involved ships, underwater noise, and human presence. The whales were not merely producing sounds in the presence of these stimuli. They appeared to be producing specific sounds. Sounds that recurred across different individuals, different family groups, different times. The pattern was consistent. When ships approached, certain vocalizations increased. When noise levels rose, certain sequences appeared. The correlation was not random. It was systematic. The researchers did not claim to have translated the content of these vocalizations. They did not claim to know what, specifically, the whales were saying. But the pattern strongly suggested that the whales were communicating about the stimuli. They were not just reacting. They were informing. They were warning. The implication is profound. If sperm whales have been producing specific vocalizations in the presence of human threats, ships, sonar, and industrial noise, and if those vocalizations are being transmitted across family groups and potentially across generations, then the whales may have developed a cultural response to human danger. They may be teaching each other about us. They may have been doing so for decades. They may have been doing so since the era of industrial whaling, when humans hunted sperm whales nearly to extinction for the oil in their heads. The whales remember. Their communication systems are sophisticated enough to encode memory, and if the patterns the AI detected are what they appear to be, then the whales have been passing those memories down, warning each other about the species that hunts them, the machines that pursue them, the noise that floods their world. The first message from the whales, if we are interpreting it correctly, is not a greeting, it is a warning about us. The broader implications of the Project CD findings extend beyond the specific question of whale communication. They raise fundamental questions about intelligence, language, and the moral status of non-human minds. For most of human history, we have assumed that language is uniquely human. Language was the dividing line, the capability that separated us from all other animals, that justified our dominion over the natural world, that made us special. If whales have language or something close to it, that assumption collapses. If whales have language, they are not merely intelligent animals, they are minds. They are beings with rich inner lives, complex social relationships, cultural traditions, and the ability to communicate about their experiences across time and space. They are, in some meaningful sense, persons. The legal implications are significant. Several jurisdictions have already begun recognizing non-human personhood for certain species. In 2013, India's Ministry of Environment and Forests declared dolphins non-human persons and banned their captivity for entertainment. In 2022, the Maori people of New Zealand successfully advocated for legal personhood for a river. Similar legal frameworks are being discussed for great apes, elephants, and cetaceans. If sperm whales have language, if they can communicate about the past and the future, if they can warn each other about dangers, if they can transmit cultural knowledge across generations, then the case for whale personhood becomes dramatically stronger, and the case against human activities that harm whales becomes harder to dismiss. Industrial whaling nearly destroyed sperm whale populations in the 19th and 20th centuries. An estimated 1 million sperm whales were killed for their oil between 1800 and 1987, when the international moratorium on commercial whaling took effect. The population has not recovered. Current estimates suggest approximately 300,000 sperm whales exist today, a fraction of the pre-whaling population. And the threats have not ended. Ship strikes kill whales every year. Fishing gear entangles and drowns whales. Underwater noise from shipping, sonar, seismic surveys, and industrial activity floods the ocean with sound that interferes with whale communication, navigation, and hunting. The ocean has become dramatically louder over the last century. Ambient noise levels have increased by orders of magnitude. For animals that depend on sound the way we depend on sight, the transformation has been catastrophic. Imagine a world where the sky is filled with smoke, not enough to kill you immediately, but enough to blur your vision to make it hard to see predators, to find food, to recognize your family. That is what the modern ocean is for whales, a world of noise, a world where the communication systems they evolved over 50 million years on are being drowned out by the machines of a species that has occupied the planet for a few 100,000 years. The whales, according to the patterns the AI detected, know this is happening. They know something is wrong. They are communicating about it. They have been communicating about it, possibly, for generations. And only now, with AI systems capable of detecting patterns that human researchers could not perceive, are we beginning to hear what they have been saying. Shane Garrow, who has spent 2 decades with the sperm whales of Dominica, describes the experience of studying them as fundamentally humbling. He has watched grandmother whales care for their grandchildren. He has observed babysitting behavior, adults taking turns watching young whales while others dive to hunt. He has documented grief, whales lingering with dead family members, carrying dead music calves for days. He has seen cooperation, teaching, play, affection. He has seen, in other words, the markers of social complexity that we recognize in ourselves. The difference is not one of kind. It is one of environment. Whales evolved intelligence in a world utterly unlike ours, a world of water and pressure and darkness, a world where sound travels farther than light, a world where the challenges and opportunities are completely different from those that shaped human cognition. They developed minds adapted to that world, minds that think in ways we are only beginning to understand, minds that communicate in ways we are only beginning to decode. The AI has given us a tool to hear them. What we do with that hearing is the question that remains. Project SETI's mission is far from complete. Every new expedition adds fresh recordings. Every new data set expands the research. And every improvement in artificial intelligence gives scientists a clearer picture of one of nature's most mysterious communication systems. With each passing year, researchers are uncovering new details about how sperm whales organize, exchange, and preserve information across their social groups. Despite the excitement, the scientists remain cautious. They have never claimed to have fully translated whale language, nor have they produced a direct whale-to-human dictionary. Instead, what they have demonstrated is something equally remarkable: a communication system built on consistent structure, recognizable patterns, and signals that repeatedly appear in specific situations. While many questions remain unanswered, the evidence continues to point in one direction. Humanity is steadily moving closer to understanding one of the oldest conversations on Earth. As that understanding grows, a much deeper question begins to emerge. What if the first message we eventually decode is not one of curiosity or greeting, but one that reflects humanity's influence on the oceans? If whale communication truly carries meaning, then those messages may preserve a living history of everything these animals have experienced over generations. For centuries, sperm whales have endured industrial whaling that drove their populations toward collapse. They have faced collisions with massive cargo ships, become trapped in fishing gear, struggled against relentless underwater noise, and survived oceans increasingly polluted by human activity. Today, climate change is reshaping the marine environment they have depended on for millions of years. Through it all, they have continued to communicate, passing information from one generation to the next. Artificial intelligence has not yet translated every click, but it has revealed enough to suggest that these sounds may contain far more than simple calls. They may represent shared experiences, collective memory, and information about dangers in their environment. For the first time, science is beginning to detect those hidden patterns. The challenge is no longer whether we can hear them. It is whether we are prepared to understand what they might be telling us. If these discoveries continue to hold true, they force humanity to reconsider its place among intelligent life on Earth. We have long viewed ourselves as the only species capable of complex language, culture, and the transmission of knowledge across generations. The growing evidence suggests that assumption may have been incomplete. Sperm whales appear to possess traditions, social learning, and an intricate communication system that has existed for millions of years. Their story is one of endurance. They have witnessed the rise of industrial civilization, survived relentless exploitation, and adapted to an ocean transformed by human activity. If their vocalizations truly contain descriptions of those events, then they represent one of the longest continuous cultural records ever created by another species. The greatest discovery may not be that whales are intelligent. We already knew they possessed extraordinary minds. Nor is it simply that they communicate, because that has been observed for decades. The real revelation is that their communication may be far richer and more meaningful than anyone imagined. The question now is whether humans are willing to treat those signals as something worthy of understanding, rather than background noise. Artificial intelligence has completed only the first step. It has uncovered hidden patterns, revealed remarkable complexity, and shown that an organized communication system was always present beneath the surface of the ocean. What happens next depends entirely on us. Research continues in the waters around Dominica, where scientists gather thousands of new recordings every year, while AI models become increasingly sophisticated. Meanwhile, life beneath the waves carries on as it always has. In the darkness of the deep sea, an older female whale clicks a sequence to her daughter. Moments later, the daughter repeats a variation of that same sequence to her calf. The information moves forward, generation after generation, preserving knowledge that has survived for millions of years. Those conversations continue today, just as they did long before humans built ships or machines. We finally possess the technology capable of hearing them. The only question that remains is whether we are wise enough to truly listen.